City councilors left their mark on the budget for the coming year, especially in spending on the Boston Public Schools. Among those getting involved was the council's new at-large member, who's on committees for education and for homelessness, mental health, and recovery. We'd like to welcome City Councilor Annissa Essaibi-George. Thank you very much for being with us. Annissa.
Thank you, Chris. I'm happy to be here.
Chris, those are committees where you have high positions. You're the chair of one, the vice chair of the other. I want to start with the education question, because there was a lot of attention to this year. How did you see the council making a difference in the budget for this?
Well, I saw the number one place that we made, I think, the most difference in the budget, and I certainly hoped that we could have done more, at least I could have done more in my position. But where we've made the most difference is really bringing issues to the forefront, bringing them to the table so that we can talk about them.
I know one interesting overlap between these two committees I mentioned comes out with homeless students. I was a little surprised to hear how many there were in the Boston Public Schools.
Yeah, in the Boston Public Schools we have almost 4,000 students that are currently experiencing homelessness. Most of those students live in the city of Boston, or sheltered in the city of Boston, and we have almost 400 that are sheltered outside of the city of Boston that we transport in every day. I was very surprised myself to learn of that number. As a teacher, when I was a teacher in Boston Public Schools, I knew we had homeless students. I had homeless students in my classroom through the years, but never did I realize until maybe about a year ago how big of an issue this really is. And it's about 7% of our student population that's experiencing homelessness.
What about the whole background and the budget to the schools? Because I heard a lot of parents and students talking about things being cut, but we also heard the mayor talking about, well, we have surplus space and we need to save money. So how do you balance those two things? Well,
I think seeking balance is certainly the greatest challenge, especially when talking about the budget. And I often refer to my experience through this first budget cycle for myself as exciting, fascinating, and frustrating all at once. And one of the most frustrating pieces is finding that balance and really making sure that as a system we're being efficient, but we're also providing the academic support and that academic richness that we need come September 8th, which is the first day of school for our kids this year.
Well, talk about efficiencies. We want students to be efficient when they go to school, especially the high school level. But a lot of them, they have to get up pretty early, and at that age, they also tend to stay up late. So what do you do about that?
Well, we're actually, funny you should mention that, because we're actually hosting a hearing just after the school year starts on school start times, in particular for our high schools. I taught high school in Boston for 13 years, and many of our schools start at 7:20, 7:30, 7:40. And that's incredibly early for anyone that knows adolescents, that has a teenager in their house, that remembers back to their own high school years. Teenagers are not ready to learn at 7:20 in the morning, and we need to be more practical about what we're expecting from our kids. And I think prepared to learn English, math, science, history, participate in hopefully enrichment programs like music and art and theater, that's not happening at 7:20. And we need to have a really thorough and thoughtful and critical conversation about that, and we're planning on doing that sometime in September, early October.
Could transportation be an issue here too, as far as making sure that the services are there? I know most of these...
You're almost feeding me my answers
most
here.
of these students, I mean, they have to take the T if they're not walking, so... Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest challenges I've seen looking at Boston Public Schools now from a different perspective, initially as a teacher and now as a parent and as an elected official in Boston, is transportation so often determines and dictates what we're doing in our classrooms, and that's not right. Education, academics, that's what should determine our kids' ability to be successful in school. Buses should not.
We're talking with Boston City Councilor Annissa Essaibi-George. Turning to another topic I'm sure you're concerned about because of your other committee work here. The Boston Globe recently had the story about Cass Boulevard, Mass Avenue, all the people struggling with addiction. And this is the gridlock in the recovery pipeline, maybe. And this is something that you were trying to work on, too, in the council.
Yeah, I'm lucky, and this is another line that I use too often, is I'm very lucky to chair the unfortunate committee on homelessness, mental health, and recovery. And under Council President Wu's leadership this new term, she started this committee in a response to the needs that we have across the city of Boston, and in particular the Globe's article on that sort of cross intersection, what's also referred to as Meth Mile, that intersection at Albany Street, Mass Ave, and Malnia Cass. And really the visible struggle of individuals on our streets, and so many of them struggling with mental health issues and certainly struggling with homelessness, but also very obviously struggling with addiction. And we have so much more work to do in that space.
Well, recovery ideally still has multiple phases, and I guess with a lot of
recovery is a lifetime objective or a lifetime of work.
And when people come out of that first phase in detox, going to the next, especially if it's a residential program, that can be a real hurdle.
Yeah, we can oftentimes get individuals into detox programs, which I don't believe last long enough. Most are between 5 and 7 days. We are, as a state, I think, moving to a 14-day model, and I think we need to seriously explore, and there's been some work done to explore 28-day and 30-day programs. We need to head in that direction. But the other problem is the next step of care after detox, and sort of the transition from detox into sober living and other halfway homes and things like that. We don't have enough to offer individuals that are working towards recovery, and we don't do enough to support them, and we need to do more as a city. We need to do more as sort of a greater Boston area and as a state.
Well, one other problem you have to contend with, and everybody in the council has to contend with, a lot of neighborhoods don't want the facilities, and they're not any more enthusiastic when we hear that more and more people from outside the city need to use these facilities.
Yeah, we're facing in the city of Boston not just our own, not just our own people that are from Boston and from Boston's neighborhoods, but we're facing really an influx of folks from sort of the immediate suburban area of the city of Boston, from the western part of the state, and really from the region. We're finding people are coming to Boston because we offer such tremendous care. We find them coming from all over the New England region.
Well, another piece that you worked on with the council was getting more workers from the Boston Public Health Commission to go out to that intersection and try to help people more effectively. Explain how that would help.
Yeah, we're doing, I think, a great job as a city when we're taking care and providing services in some of our facilities, and some incredible facilities, both that the city operates and some of our nonprofit partners operate. What we need to really do now is start to shift our focus and shift our work to what's happening on the street, and really meeting individuals where they are in their struggles with addiction and their hopefulness to get into recovery programs. But we need to start meeting them where they are, and that is, as the Globe pointed out, very visibly in that Meth Mile cross section of Mass Ave, Malnia, Cass Boulevard, and Albany Street, as well as many other sections of the city of Boston.
Well, I got to ask you about one other challenge here that's been around for a while now, and it's the Geese. I have to tiptoe around their droppings in the Fenway. I've seen golfers try to shoot golf balls past them in Franklin Park. So this is quite widespread.
Yeah, we go. I'm a parent of 4 kids and we use our parks, our city parks, day in and day out. We're currently in summer baseball season, so we use them quite a bit. The geese are a problem, and we've got beautiful parks. They really are anchors in so many of our neighborhoods. They are magnets for tourists, and unfortunately they're being destroyed by a growing geese population, and it's something that we as a city need to be very, very much proactive in thwarting their growth and sort of eliminating the waste that they present to us in our fields. I'm trying to be particular about the words I choose, but they really impact in a negative way residents and visitors' use of our parks.
So some more exploration. Thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much.
City Councilor Annissa Essaibi-George. In a moment, we'll hear about help for homeowners with foreclosure prevention, but first, this message.